Hi, hello there. Welcome to this session on shell programming, where we are going to take a look at a new construct called the case statement. The idea behind a case construct is that we had seen in the previous classes that we had used a if elif construct. So, what we were trying to do with if elif construct was that we were trying to take multiple decisions. Say for example, we found out that if condition A is happened, then I do not want any of the condition B, C and D to happen, but I want to continue with the flow of the program. So, I am given multiple choices or multiple paths, and out of those multiple paths I have to choose one path. So, that is the reason why I used an if elif statement. Now, sometimes it can so happen that if elif statement can become pretty complex. Okay, that means choosing one path out of a multiple paths can be coded in a very complex fashion. So, in order to ease out that problem, the shell allows you to have something known as a case construct, and it is essentially if there is a series of if then else type of statements, then this case construct allows you to have very nice way of expressing your logic. So, that is one of the reasons where we use the case construct. What happens with case construct is that it takes a value or a pattern and then compares it with a list of predefined patterns that you give in your program, and out of these patterns if one of the pattern matches, then it takes the path. So, I know this is a kind of an abstract way of explaining a case construct. So, essentially in the form of syntax we have the following. Okay. So, in the form of syntax what we see is that we have a case CASE, okay, and then we have to give, this is a particular value that a user gives, and each of these patterns refers to one particular path that you want to take out of this whole logic. You know, I mean if you look at this statement, okay, I will take this, I am passing a value and this value could match one of these patterns, and if it matches let us say pattern 2, then all these commands that are given up to this double semicolon will get executed. Suppose the value matches pattern 1, then all these commands here up to this double semicolon will be used. Many of you who are familiar with C programming language will understand this is equal to something like switch case statement, and one of the things that we do in shell as usual is that once I start a case I have to end with the reverse of the case, which is ESAC. Okay. So, this forms a complete block. If you look at this case construct, okay, so you can have either one pattern. So, if you look at the previous slide we had talked about using a single pattern. Okay. So, if you look at this there was multiple patterns, say we had pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3 and so on, and each of these we can choose by using a OR symbol. Say for example, I can put a slash and say that I can have either pattern, within this we can have sub patterns, let me put it that way, let us call them as sub patterns. So, within pattern 1 itself we can have bunch of sub patterns. We will see all these things with an example, but anyhow we have to slightly understand what this case statement is all about. And so what we can do is that if you use a case statement, okay, several patterns can be separated by pipe characters. Okay. So, if you put a pipe character here in this sense, it says that you have to choose either a sub pattern 1 or sub pattern 2 and so on. And what happens with that? So, if it matches any of the sub patterns, okay, and then the particular command list is executed, and the patterns are always checked in order. Okay. So, from left to right the patterns are checked. So, let us say for example in this case, so we have pattern 1 and this pattern 1 can have sub patterns. So, when you have sub patterns, then you go and check the sub pattern 1, you check sub pattern 2, sub pattern 3. So, if any of this one sub pattern matters, then you go and execute this command list. Okay. So, that is the way a case statement works. Now, what we can do is we will now take an example, and then what we will do is we will first write the example using the if then elif statements, see how complicated it becomes, and then finally we will use the same, we will write the same example using a case statement and see how it simplifies our task. So, what we will do is we will take this program called multi-if.sh. I will first explain this program and then we will go ahead and look at the equivalent case program with a case statement. So, as we know, line number 3 just asks the user to enter the file that he wants to delete. We can see that this program aims at deleting a file by asking the user whether he really wants to delete a file or he just has inadvertently typed in the file name by mistake. So, the line number 4 tries to read the answer from the user. This answer is nothing but the file that you want to delete. Coming to line number 5, this program tells you, really asks you, I mean, are you sure about whether you want to delete this file, and then it reads the choice from the user. Now, in this case the user can type any choice. Okay, so the program expects the choice to be just the alphabet Y in small, or the choice could be the alphabet YES in small, or the choice could be the alphabet Y in caps, or it could be choice YES in caps. Now, if that happens, then this program sets a flag to 1. This flag, based on this flag, we will try to delete the file or not. So, if I make any one of these choices, that is a small y, or I type YES, or I type a capital Y or capital YES. Now, you could ask a question, what will happen if I type a capital Y and a small es? Obviously, this pattern matching will fail, and therefore, this program will not execute the way you want it to execute. So, here we are facing a problem. See, sometimes when we type with our hands, sometimes it so happens that I could use a Y which is caps, and then another E which is small, and then S could become caps, and so on. Of course, all these problems can be solved by using pattern matching in the shell. Okay? And so, that is why if you look at the case statement, it actually expects a pattern, whereas in the if statement, the condition within the if statement, you actually expect a string. So, all these guys like Y, YES are compared as a string, and then what happens is that the flag is set. Now, if you do not give these choices, okay, as Y, YES, capital Y or S, then the program expects that you will give something like no, that is small no, or small n, or capital N, or capital NO. So, these two conditions are mutually exclusive. That means, if I give a Y, then I cannot give a N, okay, and if I give a N, I cannot give a Y. So, look at this, the way this statement has been framed is, so I will have to choose only one, either I choose this path in the program, or I can choose this path in the program, or I will be able to, by default, I will be able to choose this path in the program. So, all these three paths are mutually exclusive to each other, and what we do in this program is, so if the choice is yes, then I set a flag to 1, and if the choice is no, then I set the flag to 0. Essentially, if you see, I set the flag to 0, so this is somewhat redundant if I make no as a choice. This comes in terms of program optimization and all that, we will not go into all those details, but what I just want to point to you is that these three paths that we see, that is the first if path, the second if path which is here, and the third else path are mutually exclusive. So, here we have got three paths, and out of these three paths we want to choose one path. So, this whole code, depending on what the user types, will choose one path, and based on that path, one flag, we are setting up a flag. And if you look at this flag, then finally we come to line number 17, where we say that if the flag is 1, So, reverting back to this logic, we see that if the flag will be 1 if the choice is any one of these 4, then I am not deleting any file, I am just saying that I am just echoing deleting a file, because I do not want to inadvertently, this is just a sample program, therefore, I just want to show you that how this syntax can be used. So, I just echo deleting a file if the choice is n or no or whatever it is from this class, then I am just printing, I am not deleting the file, and then I am exiting with a value of 0. So, let us now try to execute this program and see how it behaves. So, we can at least have 3 minimal test cases. The first test case can be, we can type either y or yes or whatever it is. The second test case is we can have n or no or whatever it is, and the third test case we can type any of the values like capital Y, small e, and then capital S and so on, or any other input, and let us see how this program behaves. So, I will run this program. So, let us first, in the first place I give some file name and then I say I want to delete the file. So, I am going to give a small y. So, this is the positive test cases and it says deleting the file. So, the path followed is correct. Again I run this program, okay, and then I give some program to delete or some file to delete. Then I say, do you want to delete the file? I put n. So, it says it is not deleting the file. So, this is according to whatever logic we had followed. Now, I am going to try the third test case, where I am not to go, I am going to type the file name and I am not going to give either y, n or some of those choices. I will say as choice like quit, okay. So, it says unknown option, and because it is an unknown option it says not deleting and it comes out. Now, comes the next test case where I give y e s, sorry, the file, I will give the file name and then I give y e capital S. Now, if you look at this, it says unknown option and deleting the file. Now, this is one of the drawbacks if you try to hard code anything into your code. See, essentially you should keep any coding as generalized as possible, and so here in this, at least in the shell, what we have to do is, if you look at this line, okay, so we are actually specifying a concrete alphabets or a string, okay, and this is actually a sort of a bad practice. You should actually put here specify a pattern, okay, which can accept any of these variations of s or y, and you should also say there is a pattern. Now, we will leave that as an exercise to you, okay. So, what you should do is, when you are using the case statement, instead of having concrete strings like y, s and all that, you should try to put in a pattern, okay. So, that the code can do a pattern matching and then take a decision. I mean, that is, it's slightly difficult, but if you can understand the use of question mark or plus or dot or star, etc., you can use one of your terminologies. So, use any one of these methods and then try to, that is a clue that we are giving you, but you can, now let us come back to this. So, what we will now do is, we will now, this program actually looks, I mean, at least syntactically it does not look nice. Let me put it that way. I mean, it does not look elegant. So, what we will try to do is, we will try to write the same program using the case statement. So, we know what is the syntax of the case statement is. So, let me now take the case.sh file. So, in this file, if you look at this, the first 5 lines are the same, there is no change, but then look at line number 8, okay. So, in this line number, so what we are doing is, we are reading a choice from the user, okay, and then this choice can either be y, capital Y, yes or yes, or this can be n, capital N, no, and I have also added another choice for quitting, okay, and finally I am putting a pattern matching here. This tells you that if you type anything other than what is given here, you see, if you type anything, I mean, this star has various uses in shell script. At one point it is used for multiplication symbol, one point it is used for character expansion and so on. So, in this case, for example, if you type any characters or strings other than what is given, see either y, n or q, then it will say that the choice was not understood. Now, remember, even there we provided some provision, but look at how small the code is, okay, first thing, okay, the code is actually, I mean, it comes to about 7 or 8 lines, I mean 10 lines approximately, and it looks more elegant. So, let us see what this code does. So, if I make a choice, that is whatever I type, if you remember, first we typed the file name, second we are giving a choice. So, if whatever choice we give, then if this choice belongs to any one of this, then this flag is set. Okay. You put double semicolon. The reason you put double semicolon is in shell you can terminate a statement with a single semicolon. So, in order to differentiate that termination with the termination of a choice of a case statement in a path, we are actually putting a double semicolon. Okay, that is the syntax that is you have to follow. Again, if I choose y, yes or yes, then I set the flag to 1. If I choose any one of this, I set the flag to 0, and then if I type q, it says quitting, and if I type any one other than this, whatever I have given, it is supposed to say choice was not understood. And as usual, the logic of the program has not changed. If you remember the previous logic, we started with $flag and then we looked at whether to remove the file or not. Here we have used if elif statements, okay, just to show. I mean, one way to execute it is if you can just put even if you can put a else statement, which will just tell you that because this flag is 0, the file is not removed. Okay. Now anyway, we will run this program. So, let us run this program and we will run all the 3 test cases. In this case we will have 4 test cases, at least 4 test cases, because we added a new choice of q. Okay. So, let us run this program. Remember, before I run this program, I have actually changed the mode of the file. So, please remember to change the mode of the file to executable mode, otherwise I mean we have already crossed about 10 sessions. So, we tend to forget what was done in the first and the second session. So, because of that I am saying that you need to ensure that you have execute permissions for this file, and in this file suppose I execute this statement. Okay. So, it says enter the file you want to delete. Okay, I will type some junk file and then we remember the choices. So, I say y. So, it says file removed. Now, let us run the test case again. I will give some file name, then I give n, it says file not removed, then I will run again for the third test case, which is quit. So, it says quitting, then I will run the fourth test case where instead of quit or something I just type something abracadabra. So, it says abracadabra was not understood, okay, file not removed. Now, if you look at this, there was no place in the code that we mentioned this word. So, for example, if you look at this, if I had typed that whatever I had typed, and since abracadabra was not in any of these, so it actually came here. This is what we call it as a default. If you had know about C programming language, in any case statement you are supposed to have a default, and this is the default. That means if it does not match any one of these paths, then it takes this path. So, the star tells you that you can match any string. Okay. Now, the exercises that I was talking about was that you should use the symbols like star or question mark and then convert this such that it is not just these 4, I should be able to choose this path even if I type capital Y, small e and capital S. So, that is the exercise that you could try out on your own and see how to ensure that we write programs which are very general rather than giving them concrete strings like this. Okay. That is I mean that is slightly difficult, but you can try it out, so that gives you a very good exercise on pattern matching. So, remember, one of the things that I want to insist here is that we are talking about the tools. Okay, how we make use of the tools in your examples or the logic, or when you make a sequence of statements, okay, and then make them work together is your ability, and that is an art. Okay. So, coding, so all these tools can be learnt, but then how to use these tools to solve a particular problem is an art, and that is the reason in between we are discussing lot of exercises also. So, from the next session we will look at other features of shell. Thank you.